Hi everybody, it's Caitlin from Acre 38 Farm and Homestead, and I wanted to show you guys a great recipe that I use for my kids here on the farm. So my kids are home for the summer and they eat a lot of snacks. They eat a lot of snacks during the school year too, but during the summer especially, it's, Mom, I want a snack. And I will tell you, I really try not to buy processed foods, but I struggle with snacks. The reason why is because it's easy, it's convenient, and I have a hard time saying no to the kids when they want something. So they really like granola bars, and I'm going to show you today my farmhouse granola bar that I make very regularly for my kids.
Okay, so you're going to want to grab yourself a bowl. It doesn't have to be huge, but a decent amount. And you want to put in 2/3 of a cup of honey. This recipe actually uses no cane sugar, which is why I love it. You can also use a little bit of maple syrup here if that's something that interests you. We use honey because we have bees, so we usually have a good amount of honey from our farm. Then you want to use a cup of peanut butter or any nut butter that you prefer. Some people like cashew butter or sunflower seed butter, whatever butter, peanut butter you prefer. That's going to work really good here. I prefer mine creamy. You can actually use crunchy as well, and it'll actually give more of a crunchy nut in the granola bar. And then I use vanilla extract, just a teaspoon of that. We make our own vanilla extract, so that's why our bottle may look a little bit different than yours, but any vanilla extract is fine. You can also use almond extract. Some people like that as well. I prefer vanilla extract. I think it gives a better flavor. You're also going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. I use Redmond real salt, and I just eyeball it typically, but it's about a half a teaspoon. Then you're going to stir that up really good. Make sure it's all mixed together. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You definitely don't need a mixer. You can absolutely do this by hand. There's no reason to get any extra bowls out. I'm just doing this for the demonstration here. You just want to make sure that it is mixed up appropriately, and then you are going to add your next ingredients. I use a tablespoon of flaxseed. I use ground flaxseed so it doesn't give any seed pieces or anything like that. And then you're going to use 2/3 of a cup of rolled oats. You don't want to use quick oats. You want to use the rolled oats. And then I always try and get the non-GMO or non-sprayed because oats are very high in glyphosate typically. So I try and get the non-sprayed or organic. Aldi has a really good rolled oat that is not sprayed. And then you want to use 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. I always use mini because if you use the bigger ones, I find that the bars don't stick together very well. So I always try and use mini chocolate chips. If you don't have mini chocolate chips, then crush up the chocolate chips that you have. Then you're going to line a pan. This is a 9x9 pan. I always line it with parchment paper so it makes it easier for me to get the bars out when they're done. The best thing about that too is that you can pop it out and you can actually use that for storage. My kids really like chocolate on the bottom of their granola bars, so I always try and melt a little bit of chocolate. So you're just going to kind of spread that around the bottom onto the parchment paper that's lining your pan. I used about a half a cup here of chocolate chips, and then you just melt those. So you're going to spread that out and make sure that you get a nice thin layer. The other thing too is if you prefer your granola bars to be a little bit thinner, then you want to use like a 9x13 pan. This is a 9x9 pan. Anything will work. It'll just be a little bit thicker versus a little bit thinner. You can also actually roll the granola stuff, basically what I'm putting right here, into like the meat of your bars. You can actually roll that into balls and dip that in the chocolate, and that will make basically little granola bar bites. I've done that as well for my kids. So you're basically going to put the contents right over the chocolate and you're going to push it down. You can use a spatula, you can use your hand, whatever is easier for you. In the video, I'm going to use a spatula. I have used my hand before as well. Using your hand, I feel, tends to actually get it all melded together good. But for the purpose of the video, I used a spatula. Either way, it really doesn't matter. You can't go wrong with it. Some people also add chia seeds. You can do coconut flakes, whatever you like, different seeds like pumpkin seeds or some almonds or whatever you like. And you can also do some chocolate drizzle on top. I always put it in the freezer for an hour. You can also put it in the refrigerator. Basically what you're looking at is for it to be like the consistency that I'm pulling out right now and easy to cut. You want it to make sure that everything is stick together nicely and you can cut it into a bunch of smaller pieces. My kids usually like their bars in kind of smaller pieces, so I'll usually cut one of these bars. I'll cut it in half like that, and then I'll cut each bar into half because my kids like more bite-sized pieces, and I find that it works a lot better anyways. I also found that I personally like the 9x9 because it's more thick, and that's why we use it in more of a bite size pan. But if you wanted it thinner, then just do something different. Like and subscribe.